I grew up listening to English, Hindi, Nepali, and Newari songs. Now, these are the four languages that I know, and so it's only natural that I listen to songs in these languages. Now, this is a perfect example of segmentation based on language, which in marketing terms is really a form of demographic segmentation. Of course, the largest of these four segments in terms of market size is English, and the smallest is Newari. Now, if we talk about the music industry, language is just one way to slice or segment the music market. Another way to segment the market is by genre of music that people listen to. But notice, this is a different kind of segmentation. Language is a descriptor, it's about who you are. Genre preferences is about what you like, what you choose to listen to, what you will spend your dollars on. And this type of segmentation is what the marketers call behavioral segmentation. Now, there are other popular ways to segment the market apart from demographic and behavioral segmentation, such as geographic and psychographic segmentation as well. To learn more about all different types of segmentations, please be sure to watch my other video discussing segmentation in detail. Now, in the case of behavioral segmentations, here is a subtle but important point that is easy to miss. We are not segmenting the music, we are segmenting the listeners. The genres are attributes of the songs, sure, but each segment is really a group of people who prefer that genre and different from other groups of people who would prefer a different genre. Now, important to realize that segmentation is about consumers and not about products. We all know there are many different genres of music, each with its own fan base. Here is a chart showing what percentage of listeners tune into which genre. It comes as no surprise that pop is the biggest genre currently, or for our purposes, the biggest segment, with rock coming second. Now, if you were an aspiring musician, which of these genres would seem to be the most lucrative? The first thing you might look at, of course, is the segment size. Now, pop is the biggest segment with 30%, while jazz has only 4%. But when you are deciding which segment to target, and targeting is another keyword in marketing, size is not the only thing that matters. In fact, marketers usually boil the decision down to a few questions. How big is the segment? How fast growing is the segment? How tough is the competition in that segment? And does the segment actually fit your strengths and your objectives? Now let's run through them in no particular order. Let's think about competition. Now, pop might be the biggest segment, but the competition there is fierce. Every new singer that I see coming up seems to be a pop singer. Also, we need to think about our own fit. You might have a voice and a style that matches a classical singer, which would naturally push you towards the classical segment, even though it's only 6% of the market. It's like a cell phone market. If you build a phone with a really great camera, you will target the people who want a great camera, not the ones who buy phones for productivity. That product and segment fit is a real consideration when you are looking to pick a target market. A classical singer for sure is not going to target the heavy metal consumers. Well, perhaps they could. It's an untapped market. Search and watch for a music video by Andre and you will see what I mean. Really great video. Apart from the size, most companies obviously also look at growth of the market. It's not only important that the market size be big now, but if the growth is not there, then perhaps it is not a good segment to focus on. For example, rock was the largest segment in the 70s, R&B was huge in the 90s, but pop is huge now. Where the trend is heading for each segment matters just as much as where it stands today. Now, there are many other considerations that you have to look at before you decide which segment you want to target. Once you've selected your target market, let's say the people who listen to the metal genre, you need to create an identity as a metal band in the consumer's mind. In other words, you need to occupy the metal position in their mind. When I think of Taylor Swift, metal certainly does not come to my mind. She clearly occupies the position of a pop star in my mind. And that position is so firmly entrenched that even if she released a death metal album tomorrow, most of us would struggle to take it seriously. That's how powerful a position is once it's locked in. And that is why positioning is a double-edged sword. A strong position is exactly what you want. It makes you the first name people think of when it comes to your category, but it also becomes a box. It's very hard to be seen as something else once the consumer has already decided who you are. So, as a new band entering the metal segment, this is your job, to be placed in the right box the first time. That is why first impressions matter. First impressions positions us in the consumer's mind. To occupy the metal position, everything you do has to signal metal. The sound, the look, the venues you play in, the magazines you appear in. This signal is tied to another theory in marketing called signaling theory, which explains how brands and people use cues to signal unobservable qualities such as reliability, luxury, metal, etc. Now be sure to watch the video on signaling theory as well. Now here is the key thing about positioning. You first decide the position you want to own, and then you use your marketing mix, that is the 4Ps: product, price, place, and promotion, to signal, deliver, and reinforce that idea. The position is the strategy, the 4Ps are the tools that make it real. Now, take cars for example. When we think about Rolls Royce, it occupies the position of luxury in our mind. And look at how all 4Ps signal and reinforce our perception in that exact direction. The product is designed to exude luxury, the price is extremely expensive, it's sold only in posh dealerships, the kind that I would hesitate to even walk into, even if I was wearing a suit. And the advertising tells us again and again that this is luxury. Every P establishes that one position. And of course, the fact that I've lived in Earth for almost 45 years and I still haven't seen a Rolls Royce drive down my street tells me that it's not a car for your common people. Or maybe it tells me that I haven't lived a successful life, or I have been living in the wrong neighborhood. I mean, who knows? But contrast that with the Honda CR-V that I actually own. Priced around $30,000, it's affordable, sold at multiple dealerships around town, it's accessible, a solid product that does exactly what anyone wants from a car, takes me from point A to point B. Its promotions and commercials signal and reinforce the idea that it is a regular family SUV for the common people. I see it everywhere on the road, except thankfully not so much in repair shops, because even though it's a regular car, it's very reliable and dependable one. Notice that I'm crossing my fingers so that I don't jinx it. My CRV recently crossed 100,000 miles, so in the regular car segment, it owns the position of reliability. Now here's something important about positioning. You have to realize that you do not fully control or own the position. It exists in the consumer's mind. Word of mouth and many other factors outside your control shape the consumer's perceptions and therefore the position of your brand too. A lot of people I know own Toyotas and Hondas. When I ask them why they don't buy Ford, they joke that it stands for fix and repair daily. That's not an official Ford message. It's a perception that's taken hold on the consumer's mind, which has positioned Ford as an unreliable car in their minds. Although Ford also owns the position of an American car, which is a valuable position in itself as well. Now, the lesson here is that marketers work hard to create a position, but customers ultimately decide what sticks and where it sticks in the consumer's mind. Now, coming back to the music example, you have decided to target the consumers who listen to the metal genre. Now, you need to build a brand image or position that matches it. Dress like this, and people might position you in a completely different genre of music. Dress like this, and they start to see you as metal. Your product, the music itself, has to match the genre, so you sing metal, of course. Distribution is fairly standard across genre, but on the promotion side, being featured in metal magazines or on metal shows reinforces your positions too. But here's the next problem. You've done everything right. You've picked the metal segment, you dressed the part, and you're playing metal, but then so is everybody else. Because when you walk into the metal genre, it isn't empty, it's crowded: trash, death, black, power, doom, new metal, metalcore, subgenre after subgenre. each already ruled by legendary bands who've been perfecting their sounds for decades. You can't out-trash the trash legends, you can't out-heavy the death metal giants. Show up as one more metal band in that crowded genre and you will disappear into it, like a small fish dropped into an ocean full of shark, torn apart before anyone even learns your name. So, how do you stand out? You don't fight for the spot that's already taken, you go looking for empty space in the consumer's mind. And here's actually a name for this idea in marketing. Two researchers, Kim and Maubourn, call this the blue ocean strategy. Picture that crowded metal scene as a red ocean. Red because every shark is fighting over the same fixed pool of fans competing head to head until the water turns bloody. You can win in a red ocean, but only by tearing customers away from someone else. A blue ocean is the opposite. Instead of fighting for a slice of an existing market, you create brand new space that nobody is competing in. And by doing that, you make the competition almost irrelevant. You're not trying to beat the other metal bands at their own game, you're playing a game they aren't even in. So when we go hunting for that empty spot on the consumer's mind, what you're really doing is trying to sail out of the red ocean and into a blue one. Now, how do we actually see where crowds are and where the open water is? Marketers use a tool called Perceptual Map, a map of how consumers perceive different brands across a couple of key attributes. Here's one for fast food as an example. The two dimensions here are health, are healthiness and price. And right away you can see some corners are crowded, others are wide open. The closer two brands are in this map, the more likely they are close competitors in the consumer's mind. McDonald's, Burger King, Whataburger, Wendy's, they are all bunched together down in the cheap and indulgent corner, splashing across the same red ocean. The empty corners are potential blue oceans. Position yourself there, and then you'd have space where no one else is competing. But here's the crucial catch. Some spaces are empty for a reason. Look at the cheap and healthy corner. A burger that's both genuinely healthy and dirt cheap. Now that spot is empty not because nobody thought of it, but because healthy ingredients cost money, so the combination is very hard to make profitable. An empty space is only a blue ocean if there is real demand waiting there. Finding a gap is easy, finding a gap that actually pays is a whole different game. So let's take that same tool, the perceptual map, and point it at the metal music genre. Here's how it works. We take two things that fans care about and turn them into axes. Left to right, how the music feels, soft and light on one end of the x-axis while heavy and aggressive on the other, bottom to top on the y-axis, the image of the genre, dark and serious down here, bright and playful up there. Now let's plot some brands. The classical metal giants land down here, heavy, dark, serious, the polished pop and idol acts sit way over here, cute, bright and soft. Now country music is more softer but also has a more serious and darker undertones than pop or reggae music. Death metal is the most heaviest as well as has the darkest and most serious undertones. Every band and brand has a place in the perceptual map. Now, if you're an aspiring musician, where would you want to land on this perceptual map? Do you want to land on a spot where other competitors are already present? If you come up with heavy music with some serious dark themes, you might have to compete with the other metal bands that already occupy that position. If you want to come up with a soft and playful sound with cute and bright images, you will have to compete with other pop musicians that already occupy that space. So what should you do? Well, that is exactly the perceptual maps use. Now, if you look at the perceptual map and take a step back, what do you notice? That there are certain gaps in the map, certain spaces that are not occupied in this map. There's a hole, an empty corner, heavy and cute, aggressive metal and adorable bright pop at the same time. Nobody's occupying that position, and that's exactly what makes the next band that I'm going to talk about very interesting. Because someone did walk into that empty corner, and it turned out that demand was there all along. A Japanese group called BABYMETAL planted their flag right in that empty space. They fused the sweetness and choreography of Japanese idol pop with the raw power of heavy metal. Cute and metal, the two things nobody thought belonged together. And that's the whole secret of positioning. They didn't fight for a crowded street in the metal city. They found the one space no one else had claimed, discovered real fan waiting there, and owned it so completely that now when you think cute plus heavy, you think of exactly one band, if you've listened to them. They fused the kawaii culture or the cute idol culture of Japan with heavy metal to create an entirely new genre of music, kawaii metal or cute metal. Now that's the difference between competing and positioning. Competing is trying to be slightly a better version of what already exists. Positioning is finding an empty space on the map, the one with the demand as well, and making that position yours. But here's the thing. Finding an empty space doesn't mean the space welcomes you. Even after BABYMETAL claimed that position, they still had to fight pre-established consumer perceptions. Remember what I said about Taylor Swift? That once a position is locked in, it's hard to shift. Metal fans have a firm idea in their minds of what metal is, and many of those fans thought BABYMETAL didn't fit it. Many of them pushed back hard, insisting that BABYMETAL wasn't real metal at all. So a blue ocean isn't a free ride. You still have to earn the position you have claimed. How BABYMETAL won those fans over and whether they fully did is a fascinating story in itself, and honestly it deserves a full video of its own. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that video. So let's bring it home. In this video, we learned the concept of segmentation, which is dividing the market using criteria like demographic, psychographic, and behavioral attributes. In this case, we segmented the music listeners by their listening behavior, metal, pop, country, and so on. Then targeting, selecting a specific segment to focus on. And next, we also need to decide how do we choose one segment over the other. We look at the fit with our product, the segment size, the growth rate, the competition that is already present in that segment. And finally, we talk about positioning, creating a perception in the consumer's mind about our brand. That's where the perceptual map came in. It showed us the crowded corners to avoid and empty ones worth claiming. And here's the ultimate twist. When BABYMETAL claimed that empty space, they didn't just find a position. They ended up assembling a brand new set of audience nobody had thought to serve altogether. Metal fans, idol fans, and curious listeners never listened to metal before fell in love with BABYMETAL. So while we teach STP in order as a straight line, segment, target, and position, in the real world it can be a loop. Sometimes a brilliant positioning insight sends you right back to the start to completely rethink and redefine who your target market is and who you are. Segmentation, targeting, and positioning. That's STP. If this video helped you understand the STP concept in greater detail, please check out my other marketing breakdown videos as well. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.